We're talking
shows.
Ordinate. We're talking some smart home stuff. What else
Tesla.
we're talking? Tesla. All the things I know nothing about. But anyway, that's why I asked you.
Because you're the other guy.
Because I'm the other guy and you're the tech man.
G'day everyone, Pete Tecman Coman here for another exciting episode of The Tech Effect. And my good friend, my colleague.
The other guy.
Yes, the other guy.
Craig Buckingham, that's for you.
Mark the Bearded Tech, Skehan.
G'day, mate. How you going?
I'm great. Yourself?
Yeah, very, very well. Going really well, actually. We've been on a bit of a hiatus, I'm going to call this. Yeah, this is a podcast hiatus. It seems to be a thing. So we didn't want to disrupt the podcast industry too much, so we took our own hiatus purely because we were just too bloody busy. Probably more the point.
That's right. I mean, we've had Christmas. We had the New Year. We've had
riots. Elections. Riots. That's all in your world.
That's right. All sorts of things going on.
I've just been on holidays.
You've been on the beach.
Been on the beach. Full driving, doing a bit of motorbike riding. It's been great.
Whilst you're tanning on the beach, I'm here with huge coats on. Sort of walking through the snow. It's been quite incredible actually.
Saw your photos the other day. It looks beautiful in New York City and Jersey.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Obviously coming from Australia, not used to having sort of snow in the city. It's just weird. You look out the window and you got all the streets and are all white. All the trees are covered in snow. And even after they sort of clear all the roads up, you still got all this snow piled up on the side of the roads. And it's quite incredible, actually. It's a very good experience. I'm enjoying it.
So it occurred to me when I was stalking your Facebook, that when you were at Christmas time, you have one chance, your first chance to have a white Christmas, and you got on a plane and flew to Hawaii. What's the story with that, mate?
I know.
Hey?
We jumped on a plane, and we jumped on a plane about 7 o'clock in the morning. About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it just started dumping snow in New York, and there was I think they had about 2 feet of snow. So I totally missed out. But the weather in Hawaii anyway.
I don't think it's going to be your last opportunity for that, right? So
definly not.
Not unless you're going to go to Hawaii every year or come home and see your family.
I couldn't. I was trying, but I've got to quarantine for 2 weeks. I then have to apply for an exemption to leave the country. Just If you're an Australian citizen, you have to apply for an exemption to leave the country. You're not allowed to leave the country, unless it's for something important or whatever. So I actually applied for that exemption. I got the exemption. So if I did,
so you were going to come home.
What's that? You
were going to come home for Christmas.
Yeah, but the problem was I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. The flights were very, very expensive. It just wasn't happening. So
but Hawaii was all right.
Next best thing, right?
Yeah, it's not the worst place in the world.
It was good. It was.
Did a bit of bushwalking.
I'm used to sort of Christmas, spending it by the pool or down the beach. And
I must say though, mate, look, some of the photos I saw were really good, but there was one there that I wish I had. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that was you with your shirt off. Like I was sitting there going, "Oh, delete, put that shirt back on."
That should be another episode of Show Us Your Rig.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't know where to look. And certainly my version of that is something that you don't really want to see.
Yeah. Not everyone's cup of tea.
I've been working on the dad bod for a little while for a little while now, and I've got a little while to go. But geez, I'm in pretty good shape for a dad bod, right? So
I think you're doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just don't look past here.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, Pete, on to the show. Yes. What are we talking about today? We've got lots to talk about.
Well, lots to talk about. It's our first episode for 2021, which is exciting for us. So there's a lot to catch up on.
We're talking.
First thing I wanted to
shows, We're talking
Shows.
Ordinate. We're talking some smart home stuff. What else
Tesla.
we're talking? Tesla. All the things I know nothing about. But anyway, that's why I ask
Because
you.
you're the other guy.
Because I'm the other guy and you're the tech man.
Hey, we have to. People don't know what we're talking about. What's this? The other guy. How did that all come about?
So just recently, the Super Bowl, right? It was on Monday.
Yeah, Super Bowl.
And how good was it, by the way? Did you get to watch it all?
Yeah, of course I watched it. Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I mean, it was a bit one-sided, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Tom Brady is just a true legend, isn't he?
Freak.
I don't think there'll be anyone like him. But anyway, I was at a Bixie event in Brizzy, and I met this guy, Craig, and Craig was talking to another.
Shout out to Craig Buckingham from R&M.
Shout out to you, mate, if you're watching, which you're probably not, but you might be, because you knew I was the other guy. Anyway, so we're having this conversation, and Paul McDowell, shout out to you, Paul, as well, and says, Tecman, Pete Tecman, Pete Coman, and Mark does some stuff with Pete, and he goes, "Oh, you're the other guy," and I'm like, I'm like. Yeah, I'm the other guy, and Craig, all respect, but how many people in the AV industry do you know that have a big ass grey dribbling beard and a hat, like a punter's cap? How many people do you know that do that in the AV industry?
No one.
I would suggest that there's not too many, if more than one peanut like myself. So anyway, I am the other guy.
The other guy.
So there's the joke. But anyway, speaking of shows and events, Pete, there's been lots going on in the events world, and lots more to develop. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, this year was very, very different. A different start for us. Normally, I find myself at CES.
We should be at ISE like right now.
Right now.
Right now, it's the 10th.
Right now,
isn't it like?
It's kind of like normally like the first week of February, thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. So obviously this year, very, very different to last year. So CES went virtual, and how did
that go?
For me, CES is my favorite show. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm walking down every aisle, and I'm like, I don't want to miss anything. And my goal at CES,
just give us a CES is the one in Vegas. Just give us it's understanding of how big this thing is.
It's huge. There's normally around about 300,000 people that attend every year.
Whoa.
And it became that big that you actually have to apply to go, and you have to be part of the industry. Yeah. You can't just sort of rock up. You've actually got to be part of the industry. They had to control the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's the world's largest technology show. And it is, if you have a look, when you go, have you been Infocom in Vegas?
No, I haven't done the Infocom.
Right.
Infocom
in Vegas takes up the central hall and I think the northern hall, right? And then there's a southern hall, and then there's all these other halls. So it takes up all of that. I mean, there's all these other halls at the convention center that, like, if you go to Infocom, you wouldn't realize that, there's all this other space there. They take up the car parks, they take up the hotel next door, they take up hotels down the road. And you look at it, and it basically takes up half of Vegas. It's absolutely massive. People come from all around the world, and it's such an incredible show. Like, you have all the latest technology on display. So it's absolutely brilliant. Yep. And my goal there is to actually walk up and down every single aisle, because what's that saying? What's the what is it? Fear of missing out?
FOMO.
I suffer from FOMO, fear of missing out.
You're not giving me many hints here, Pete. We'll go with it. FOMO, right? Got it. Okay.
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. Yep.
And so the exhibition goes for 4 days, and every day I walk 16 kilometers a day to try and cover the whole show.
Well, that won't do you any harm, but
I have to go into training. I used to go into training. I used to go on these long 10K, 12K walks every day leading up to the show. So I made sure I could get around okay. Yeah.
Did you?
Mate, I'm a professional. You're just the other guy.
See, this is why you wear a t-shirt and comfy shoes. There's no doubt about it.
That's
Yeah.
that's
You
the
said to
tip.
me,
That's
I
the
used to
pro
be
tip.
like you, Mark, and get dressed up and everything else, and wear your good boots and everything else. But
The RM Williams.
the RM Williams, yeah, good Aussie brands, but not anymore. You just chose comfort.
So anyway, long story short,
Bit of dribble
there was
there.
no. The point is,
I'm good for dribble, if nothing else. The other guy's good for that.
there was
Filler.
no CES this year. Well, it was all virtual.
Yeah.
And it
So what
just
did they do?
it wasn't the same. I signed up
What's
and
a virtual CES?
it's people getting up there and trying to present wow factor of these new products coming out, and it's not the same. It doesn't have the same hype and feel, and I don't think you can't replicate that show or any show virtually.
You miss out on the energy, don't you? And I think that's part of the. I mean, there's network. We've talked this a number of times, that the networking component of the shows. But it's that real energy and that hype that sort of comes, that makes it exciting, and makes it even makes the product launches really exciting. 100%. And otherwise you're doing it behind the camera like us. I mean, we're pretty exciting guys, but we're much better in person.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just ask Craig Buckingham, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It wasn't until he met me in person he realised that I was the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's CES.
Yes.
And so they did all that. And so what was the ratings that came out? Was there any reports that came out on it? And they just said
I didn't look into that. Like I said, I tried to sit there and watch all the events that they had, and I just got lost. I mean, I just got fatigued, of watching all these sort of press releases and releasing new products and stuff like that. And
so many distractions outside of that too. You've got, when you're at home watching on a screen, you've got your emails, your phone's popping up, your message left, right, and center, and then someone walks into your office, right? So it's really hard to focus on what actually is right in front of you.
And that's the thing, like you said before, when you're there, you got all that hype and that excitement, and what am I going to see? And this is, brand new, and I'm going to be the first to see it, and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm just, sitting behind the screen watching another kind of what feels like a webinar, So, not the same, but look, that's the way it is. But like
current
you said,
world we're living in, right? So what's happening at ISE?
Well, as you said, I mean, we should be. Actually, we're supposed to be in Barcelona right now.
Should be in Barcelona.
Yeah, should be in Barcelona right now. But they moved it from February to June, and so
which crossed over with Infocom in.
Well, it was going to be the week before Infocom,
which would be insane.
So it was like, for me, I was going to be flying to Barcelona, you do the show there, and then flying straight from Barcelona to Orlando to do Infocom the following week. So, but Infocom decided to push it back, to late October.
That's been announced?
Yeah, it was announced recently, so they're pushing that back. And at ISE, they're still at this stage. They're still pushing ahead. They're going to be, it's going to be on, still scheduled for June the 1st, but they're going to make an announcement on the 1st of March, whether or not they're actually whether they're going to keep it at that date or push it back. They sent out some surveys asking people recently, would you attend? And there's a number of questions in there. So, we'll just have to wait a couple. The
reality is we'd all love to attend, but I mean, from my position, I don't know what it's like in the States if you went to Europe, but from us in Australia to go anywhere, to come back, you've 14 days isolation in a hotel that you've got to pay for. Yeah, it makes it a pretty expensive trip.
Well, what is it? $3,000?
Yeah.
$3,000.
They're not missing you, that's for sure.
No. Yeah. And you don't even get to choose the hotel.
No. And then you that's right. Could be like the Grand Chancellor in Brisbane, who had the UK strain lockdown, then shut Brisbane down for 3 days. But anyway, let's not get into that sort of politics. But
we're not going.
What happens if you go over there?
Show.
we're not. We're not a politics show. No, are we, Pete?
No, definitely not.
Keep your political opinions to your own Facebook account.
Exactly. And,
Yeah,
and what's happening? What about Integrate? You know, for all the Australian listeners, what's happening with Integrate?
But as far as I know, Integrate is still scheduled. Haven't
Okay.
seen too much from Soren. We probably should reach out to Soren
We should.
and see what's going on.
It's
See
late
what the
July, I believe.
Yeah. So, look, as I say, I think Australia's doing pretty well, right? You know, I think in Queensland yesterday we had 7 cases active. You know, which we're all going 7 cases, and you like in the States you're doing 7 cases a minute. You know, and there's probably more deaths per second than there is, you know, anything else in Australia at all. But we're doing okay. They're doing some short. I think we're going to see a lot more short lockdowns, 3 to 5 days over this year, until we get all this vaccine rubbish and stuff, and the world opens up again. So I think they'd be still hopeful that it would run. And definitely, I know Australians, everyone I'm talking to, they're hanging out. You know, especially salespeople, right? Like salespeople don't do good stuck behind a computer, not on the road talking to people, because we're people, right? So they just want to get into these shows. They want to see what's going on with the product. They want to talk to their mates. They want to drink a few beers, do a bit of networking, and you know, really get amongst it. So I'd be very surprised if they didn't. It would only be if we had this outbreak or something like a month before. I think they'd go, we're gonna have to cancel it. I don't think they would push it back, because it'd just be too much to push it back and try and organise that a month later or 3 months later. It's too much on the vendors, you know, and everyone trying to organise their travel commitments.
But there also would be relying on the state borders to open up as well, right? Because obviously they alternate it between Sydney and Melbourne every year, and this year I believe it's in Sydney.
In Sydney,
so you know, you need that interstate people to be traveling from interstate.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why it really really relies on whether we have any outbreaks anywhere, really. So I mean, territory WA, I mean, they're doing their own thing anyway. So I don't know how many people come across from the WA to integrate, but certainly, you know, the Queenslanders flying down, as long as you haven't been in the hotspot, it's relatively open, right? So it's pretty easy to get across the border, fill out your border declaration, pass, and away you go. So, look, as I say, I think everyone wants it to happen. I think obviously the Soren would want it to happen. The industry wants it to happen. And we're hanging out for it, mate. We just want to get back to being, you know, in person rather than on a picture like this. I can look at you all day, Pete, but not on a screen. You know, gets a bit. I start to tend to look at myself a bit more often than I look at you. You know, I'll go, look at that good-looking rooster. Anyway, that's the events. Anything else event-wise? I don't think there's anything too much.
No, nothing at the moment. Nothing to report. But we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that you've been doing some investing with some spare time that you had.
Yeah.
Investing in some technology shares.
Well, look, I got a hot tip. This is ding ding. We should do this like Mark's investing segment. You know.
Well, this is not financial advice, right? Yeah. So we have to get a little. Not financial advice.
Don't try this at home, folks. Yeah. But anyway, I did get a hot tip that we should consider investing in Audinate. You know, for those who don't know Audinate, everybody knows in the AV industry Dante, right? They're the inventors, people that have the copyright, all the technology behind.
It's the de facto. I would call it the de facto audio transportation standard.
De facto.
No, well, you know what I mean, like industry standard. It's not.
You call this a pseudo standard? This is the word that when you go. This is a pseudo standard.
Pseudo standard. You know, it's.
I know you love that word.
I do love that word.
Anyway, so yes, I have invested into Audinate last year, and right now I'm very happy with my investment. It's going well. You know, look, I borrowed a cool 3 million. It's gone up 30%. I'm leveraged pretty heavy. No, I didn't. I put like $5,000 on it. But
Sold
anyway,
the house, went all
mortgaged
in.
my wife and my kids, and you know, it's look, life's never been better. Yeah, but no, look, I think where was I going with that anyway? I have
No, well,
invested in it.
it's an Aussie company as well.
They're an Aussie company.
Yeah.
But one of the things with investing is I get to see some of their announcements, and you know, if you're doing that, I sort of stay close to what's going on as much as I can. And one of the things I picked up on last month that look, we all know that Audinate has been trying to get this version of video, right, going for
video over IP.
Video over IP.
Because they've got the audio down pat, right?
Yeah, pretty well. Yep, they've got and they're just opening that product section, you know, database up as much as anything. But right now let me just read this because I've got this right. This has included the acquisition of a new video development team that will consist of 11 employees to be based in Cambridge in Europe, and the recruitment of a vice president of strategic partnerships in Cambridge to focus on corporate development and acquisition opportunities. So not only so part of that is they're investing heavily into video expertise to push their video agenda.
Yep.
But they're also, as a company, looking to create, looking to identify more acquisitions. So they, as a company, you heard it here first, folks. Go and get on your Audinate shares. Look, if you all go and buy them, the share price will go up, and I'm going to win out of this. So there's no. There's definitely no secret here that if you all buy them, I will win, right?
There's no market manipulation going on here, right? There's
no fair
Reddit,
play.
No Reddit group, no.
No. So I just think it's interesting though that look, there's no secret they've been trying to push in the video, but it's, you know, they're now going, okay, we're going to have a red hot dip, you know, and really trying to get our video over IP platform cranking. So
well, we saw it in action. I mean, this time last year, they had it on display at ISE in Amsterdam. We saw that.
Yeah, and we saw it even integrate 18 months ago. They were sort of showing some stuff. Yeah, so
yeah.
Look, they're probably, you know, 8/10 of the way there. They really just need to get it stable or whatever they need to do. But it'd be interesting to see how that really does start to unfold. The thing is, they're coming from a bit of a long way back now. Although they're really going to rely on their audio brand, part of that, to get it out there. But yeah, AV over IP is, are you using it a lot? Like we're using it heaps.
Yeah, in the US, unfortunately, the adoption rate has been a lot slower. It's
really,
yeah, and I don't know why. You know, I think as an industry, we all agree that that's the way that it should be done. We're still seeing a lot of HD based T out there, you know, and that has its place. It does a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why the adoption rate isn't as high as what it is like back in Australia. I mean, we were doing AV over IP projects 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've been talking about it, and it's been reasonably stable for that period of time as well, right? So
but I do agree with you. I mean, like I said before, I mean, Dante is the pseudo standard for audio transportation over IP. But like you said, they're coming from a long way back. I mean, you've got organizations such as SDVOE who are just seem to be, you know, sort of picking up more and more manufacturers all the time. And once again, kind of really creating that pseudo standard for AV over IP. So how do
SDVOE is definitely having a red hot dip, aren't they? Like they're developing their chipsets for some point-to-point solutions and doing all sorts of stuff. So, you know, NVX has bought out their Crestron. NVX bought out their next generation, and it's not as hungry on power, and also everyone's reiterating, revising, and doing firmware updates and all, you know, hardware updates and changes to further develop their solution. will we ever see it? I don't know. It's not an AV over IP discussion, I suppose, but you wonder whether we will see any interoperability between just products. But even if it's 1 gig, will we see, Crestron talk to Lightwear? I mean, wouldn't it be great if it did? Reality is probably not.
I think from a AV over IP solution point of view, is that the only one that could really, at the moment that I can see really pulling that off is SDVOE. I mean, they've got 50 plus manufacturers on board, so you're going to have interoperability between those. I just I don't care what it is. I don't care what they choose, but it'd be nice if they could all sort of talk to each other.
Yeah, get along. Yeah. It's a bit of an ego trip, some of that as well. I think some of those big players are just going, ours is better than yours. The marketing and all that shenanigans. But SDVOE certainly seems to be the one that's pushing hard. And look, I don't know if you've seen some of their education. Justin Hennington's the SDVOE TV show that they're doing on LinkedIn, and trying to really increase that brand awareness and stuff that's going on. So good on them.
Yeah. No, shout out to SDVOE.
Yes. Yeah. Our good mate Jerry,
how
is the SDVOE advocate for Australasia?
He's a good bloke as well.
He's a champion. All right. Anyway, so look, that's a little bit of digression around Audinate, but I think watch this space, right? So the next 12 or 18 months could be pretty big, and if you happen to invest a few bucks on them, then and you win. If you lose, don't come running to me. I don't care. I've lost as well, and I'll be in that same gutter that you're crying in.
There'll be a for sale sign out the front of the house.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes. I have been selling lots of stuff. I didn't tell you this, but I've been selling lots of stuff at the moment on Facebook Marketplace. Have you ever used that?
How good is that? I mean, when I moved over to the US, I just went, like, people kept telling me, I'm thinking I'm going to just chuck all this on eBay, right? And people go, no, Facebook Marketplace. And I'm like, really? And I did. Oh my God. It just went like that. It went berserk.
Berserk. Yeah, like Facebook really capitalized on it, haven't they? And they've just done a really good job of their algorithms and just the user experience, and just easy.
I was pleasantly surprised. I couldn't believe it. I put things on Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, eBay, and Facebook Marketplace just killed the other two platforms.
Yeah. I got stuff on Gumtree at the moment, but it's just, I find Gumtree really hard to use. Yeah, I just think it's a bit funky, a bit old,
a bit archaic.
Yeah, a bit archaic. Anyway,
we digress.
We were talking, Pete. You were talking about something that's really cool in the home automation space.
Yes, and for those people who've heard me talk about this before, they'll know that I'm a huge advocate for voice control, smart assistants in the workplace, right? I've been talking about it for a long time. And Amazon have just announced that they are building a 10 to 13 inch screen. The specs haven't been released to the public just yet, but it's going to be a minimum of 10, maximum of 13 inch color touchscreen that's wall mountable. All right. We're still going to have to wait, probably another 18.
What's special about that? Well, everyone's got a wall mounted solution in the AV space, Crestron panels and different things like that. What's special about an Amazon panel going on the wall?
Well, the thing is, if if you own a Amazon Alexa Echo Show, it's designed to sit on a table, and it's kind of like it's triangular in shape, and it has like a deep base on it. So it's not meant to be mounted on a wall. It's meant to sit on a table somewhere. And actually there was a guy here in the US who was manufacturing, probably still is, manufacturing a wall mount for the smaller versions, because he thought, this would be a good idea. I want to wall mount it. So I think it was just for the 7-inch small one. So you cut out the gyprock wall, put this bracket in, and then just push it straight in. I thought, wow, that's a really good idea. But when you get to the bigger screens, the back on it is so deep, you can't do that. Like, you wouldn't have a wall deep enough. And then if you had if you didn't have a gyprock wall, or gyp wall as they call it over here, it was some sort of solid structure. Once again, you'd have to put it on a shelf and it's going to look stupid. So I think it's great. I think this is part of, this plan for Amazon to work their way into the enterprise, the corporate workplace, by having a product that, it's going to be what's probably going to be like $200, right? For a 10-inch touchscreen that you could deploy. You could probably do room scheduling with it. You can control the space. You can do all this kind of stuff. It's cheap, right? So roll it out. So I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be. I think it's hopefully we're going to start seeing more voice rolled out in the workplace.
Yeah. Look, and I don't think it's getting any cheaper. Sorry, I don't think it's getting any cheaper. It's getting cheaper, like at a rapid pace. I just got I thought I'd better get up, and get on to what you're talking about. Get on the same page, right? So I thought, righto, come on, get out of AV space, get into some home automation, and I got my kids to buy me. Asked my kids, or might ask Santa anyway, to buy me a Google Home. So I just bought the basic one. It's like $75. This tiny little thing like this, right? And you can fit in the palm of your hand. Man, how good are they? Like the sound quality for what you're paying and for the size of it is fantastic. The voice recognition is really, really good. Some of the features that you can do, the integration is just huge. Like I had a mate the other day ask me, and he's middle class Australian bloke building a house, and he's going, I want to get some. What do I need to do to get my automation sort of sorted out? Because I need to do something. And I said, look, seriously, just bang some money into your structured cabling, so for your Ethernet, and make sure you've got really good Wi-Fi throughout your house. Make sure it's really good and stable, and then start throwing in Google Homes, because it's just so cheap. And you buy the Google Nest. I think they're doing a rebrand at the moment. Actually, everything's just going to Google Nest. And just buy the Google Nest, so you got a nice panel there that your main controller, and then just keep adding these Google Homes and start throwing all the additional stuff, like this. What are they called? LIFX.
LIFX.
LIFX. Little Wi-Fi controller. You connect them. They've got an app on its own, but you can control them from your Google Home. Change colors. Turn them on and off. Set to 80%, set to 100%. Like, these aren't cheap. These are $80 in Bunnings in Australia. I don't know. What are they in the States?
I think they're about $30.
So
but you don't need a controller. Like you don't need you got the Philips Hue, which has been a great product for so many years, but that has a centralized controller that it needs to talk to with those LAFX, and there's others out there. It's not the only one. And they're becoming cheaper and cheaper all the time.
And commercialized, right? So because you can buy it from Bunnings, and you can buy them from JB Hi-Fi, and you can buy them everywhere. And just if you've got half a technology brain, you download the app, you connect it all, and like your TV now, I think you were saying earlier, you got your TV's got Google Home and Alexa in it.
It's all built in. That's the thing, is that so many devices have voice assistants built into it, so you can actually just talk to the TV, or even like I've got a couple of Sony TVs at home, and they have Google built into the remote control. You have a microphone there, you can just talk to it. So if I want to search for a TV show, I just press that and I just talk to it, bang, it goes and finds a TV show, does all that. It's brilliant.
So what does that mean then, Pete? What does it mean in the commercial world? Like if they push into the commercial sector, and it'll become easy and simple to install it, and then IT teams will just go, let's just go and whack these in, and they'll get the maintenance to do it, and the job's good. What does that mean for C-Bus, and what does it mean for Dynalite? Even Crestron have got their little daily controller, and what does it mean for daily lights? So what is all that? Are we going to see the end of the road, or they're just going to have to reinvent?
Look, I don't think at the moment that say LAFX, for example. I mean, it's not a commercial product; it's a consumer product. It's not to say that it wouldn't work in a commercial environment, but I think when you're talking about commercial projects, that they're typically a larger scale. And I think they quite often, you need them to be more robust, and we need to be talking to other systems and controlled by other systems. I think that if we're talking about controlling a space, like the AV, for example, within a meeting space, hey, there's no reason why Google or Alexa couldn't be used to control that. I mean, we're trying to, as designers, we're trying to create a frictionless environment. And I think the one way to do that, or the best way to do that, is through voice. Just talk to it. I mean, there's going to be, of course, you know, there's probably going to be issues with accents and language barriers. I get that.
Yeah, but they're dealing with that anyway already, aren't they?
Correct. But on a whole, I mean, instead of trying to work out what button I'm going to press, I just like start conference, turn the TV on. Look,
I'm sure there's plenty of CEOs and stuff that are already talking to the AV system, but maybe not as nice as they should be. I wish anything could turn on. Somebody call the IT guy.
So I just think that's just around the corner. And actually, a webinar for Avixa, and one of the people that we had on the panel, one of the panelists says she works for Instacart. You might not have heard of it. So Instacart is like a grocery shopping service. Right. So what happens is that, you know, like in Australia, you'd say jump onto Coles. It's online grocery shopping, right? But instead of like, you know, Coles and Woolworths have had their own system, for 10 years, right?
Time.
I think.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. But what they do over here, Instacart provides that service. So instead of these supermarkets setting up a delivery service and the fleet of trucks and blah blah blah, Instacart is like the Uber of food shopping. So individuals go and shop for you, right? So when the whole, you know, when we were in lockdown over here, you couldn't go. Oh, well, there was a limit to how many people could be in the shop at one time, and blah blah. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to wait outside. I'm like, stuff this. So you go onto their website and you just go and choose all the things that you want, and within 2 hours, it's delivered. Because what happens is someone who, like, you know, you have like kind of like your equivalent to Uber drivers, your shoppers. They're signed up. They get a notification. They go, all right. They go in, they walk around with a trolley, grab all this stuff. And and sometimes they can't find what you're after. And then they'll go, oh, I found this. Do you want that instead? And you go, yeah, sure. And they grab that. So but the whole thing is you'll have it delivered like same day or normally within a couple of hours.
Nice.
Right. So anyway, I digress. But that's what Instacart.
Yeah.
That's what Instacart is. And she was she's part of the AV team,
right?
And she was saying that they are deploying Google Nest / Google Home in some of their meeting spaces to control the room. So I'm like, tell me more. So I'm trying to organize a meeting to actually get into more details of how they're doing it and get into.
You'd have been like a dog at a bone with that one, wouldn't you?
Oh, I can't see any reason why we aren't deploying it, right? But I'm just so glad that someone is, and you know, an organization like Instacart's doing it. I'm like, okay, great. Hopefully, this is the catalyst for other organizations to start deploying voice-controlled systems in their meeting spaces.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit of a convert. I love get up in the morning and just playing some music and not having to think about it. Just go play me some jazz or play me some folk or play me some rock or whatever. And listen to a podcast or whatever you want to do. You know, it's just great.
Well, I've got a Google Home in my bathroom, and as soon as I get out of the shower, I'm like playing tech videos. In there. So I've got it there. I'm getting ready in the morning, and you know, because that takes a couple of hours, and I get to watch a heap of.
Oh, you can't look that good in 5 minutes, I suppose, can you? Oh, gee, imagine what if you had like 3 hours or 4 hours. I mean, how good you could look.
This doesn't just happen.
No. I'm just going to leave that alone.
Anyway, it's a great tool, and I think our workplaces will be better for it.
Yeah. Well, it'll be certainly good to see some advancements in those workplaces, because we're still seeing a lot of basic standard traditional conference room rollouts happen every day at the moment, I think, that are not really out of the box. I mean, we're doing quoting some stuff, and it's like, Oh yeah, it's another conference room. I had a consultant ask me, Mark, how many boardrooms are you doing? I'm going, well, at the current design, you've done one, you've you've done 100 sort of thing, because there's not that much difference between them.
And also though, now that everything's sitting on the network, right? Like, so you have, say, Dante speakers, you got a Dante microphone, you're controlling the display via IP, so that's sitting on the network. You've got AV over IP to get the signals around the place. The camera is an IP camera. It's like, the room is not that complex as it once was, right? And you might have a PC in the room running Zoom or Teams or whatever flavor that you choose. There's not a lot of boxes. There's not a lot of smoke and mirrors that's going on now. All these devices sitting on the network. I don't need an amplifier because it's, I'm getting the amplifiers are built into the speakers. Like, I could have a software-based DSP on the PC.
Yeah. Why not?
Right.
Yeah. All controlled by your Google or your Alexa.
Exactly.
Turn on. Good to
go. Exactly.
Oh, very good. All right, and well, let's move on to topic number 1. Must be 3, is it? Teslas. Look, I'm not a massive. I like cars. I'm more into 4-wheel drives and things like that. But you've
got a Harley, though, haven't you? I mean, you're on the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. It's like throw some petrol in this sucker, mate, because it's got to go faster.
Make more noise.
Make more noise. Make it rumble a bit more. Make it louder. But you are a Tesla nut. I think, if I could probably describe you.
Oh well, look. First of all, I'm a Elon Musk fanboy. I just, I listened to his book. I love his journey. He's one of the smartest guys in the world. And I just think what he has done is absolutely incredible. And
you do have a bit of a man crush on him, don't you?
I do have a man crush on him. Yes, that is true.
I am feeling a bit hurt actually about that. Of all the people, I mean, at least make it more realistic and send a bit of love this way, Pete. Like,
all right, mate.
At least you might have a show with me. Well,
bit of a virtual hug.
Don't try and give me a kiss, for crying out
loud. I mean, we're both into tech, and there is no more advanced car than the Tesla, and I just think it's amazing. And they've just announced that they're bringing out a couple of new upgrades for the Model S. They've got the Plaid and the Plaid Plus, and I mean, it's just insane that they've got they can do 0 to 100. Right, that's kilometers an hour in less than 2 seconds.
That's insane. Yeah,
less than 2 seconds. That's mad. It's crazy. It'll have 1,000-kilometer range on one charge.
That's the incredible part.
Oh, it's off the charts, isn't it? Like, I mean, why would you, once this technology becomes more available in for all the other manufacturers? I mean, really, do we need petrol fueled cars?
Yeah. Well, I think the argument over in Australia is that they're great in the city, but what happens if you want to travel to Charleville? But there is more and more charge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they do charge off 240 standard GPO, don't they?
No, they have special charging
stations.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit different. Like here in the US, they have Tesla has a huge network of charging stations. So you could own a car and not worry about, am I going to make it to the next charger? Like, it's everywhere. And then so Tesla have their own, and then you've got this other one called, I think it's called Charging America or something along those lines. And they have, that's like for most of the other manufacturers, they use that network, and both networks are huge. And so you could, I mean, there was a guy recently who there's a thing called a cannonball run.
Yep.
And it's driving from New York to, I think, San Francisco or LA. So it's East Coast to West Coast, and you've got to do it in the fastest time. And traditionally it's all been done in, petrol fueled cars. and he set the record for the fastest electric crossing. So he had to stop at these stations to actually charge the car. They had 3 drivers. They did it in a Porsche Taycan, and they did it in some record time.
Wow.
And but that gives you an idea that you can get across from one side of the states to the other, and with an electric vehicle.
Yeah. So interesting that they can get up to 1,000 Ks per charge. How long does it take to charge them?
Well, that was the interesting thing. Like when the guy who did the Cannonball run in the Porsche Taycan, what he said was it charges from like 0 to 60% very quickly. Yep. And then from 60 to 100, it's very slow. So what he did, they started on full charge, they get it down, close to 0, yep. And then they charge it, but they only charge it to 60% because that was the most efficient way for them to get up and running to keep going.
Yeah, right.
So what they were saying is 0 to 60 is relatively quick.
Yeah.
After that, I think obviously something to do with the battery technology that it has to be slower.
Interesting though that now they're obviously continuing to develop the technology, the battery technology, and that's been one of the biggest things around even solar and all that sort of stuff is, do we put battery technology in at the home? And Tesla have got their home battery solution. So no doubt that technology is going to continue to flow down into that solar world and the battery storage.
What's interesting with the Tesla solution, and maybe the others have a similar product, but the Tesla solution, so what happens is that you come home at night, and what happens is that if the power wall needs more power and you plug your car in and your car has power, then it'll transfer it's smart enough to know where to transfer the power. Right. So it actually will transfer the power from the battery of the car into the power wall because it knows that at night, you're going to have lights on and you're going to have all that kind of stuff. And then what it does is that when it goes off peak and the power is cheaper, it then charges the car.
Huh.
So it's got this, it's got this intelligent flow of power backwards and forwards to be as efficient as you possibly can be.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's only going to continue to develop.
I took, when I was over in Hawaii, we're talking about Hawaii earlier, waiting to go out to dinner, and they said, oh yeah, it's going to be like 45 minutes or an hour's wait. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we started walking around, and across the road was a Tesla dealership. So we walked in there and just checking out the cars, and a guy came up and was talking to us about trying to sell us a car, obviously.
Just out of interest, did you have your Pete Coman shirt on?
I tell you what, it kind of looks like the Tesla font, doesn't it? Just
yeah. There could be something in that, isn't there?
There is something in that.
Yeah. But I just wondered if he actually recognised you.
Yeah. Well, he didn't say you're that other guy.
Yeah. He said you're the guy.
You're the guy.
You're the guy. Who is that other guy? Get rid of him.
Yeah. Who is he? Some nuffy.
Anyway, keep going.
They turned around and said, oh, you want to take it for a test drive? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, you can take it. Like, what day do you want to take it out? And we're like, how about we take it out on Sunday? And you take it, you got 2 hours. And we're like driving around the Hawaii, taking all these snapshots and everything. And so it was cheaper than hiring a car, right? It's free.
Yeah.
2 hours.
I'll have to remember that tip when I go to the States again.
I had a Model Y. I was driving a Model Y, and even that it's just ridiculously quick. And and nowhere near like the S and the Plaid and the Plaid Plus. But they had the beta software for the autonomous driving. So obviously Tesla's had autopilot for a while, which is out on the open road, but they've got this autonomous driving version. I think it's like another 10 grand that you can add when you buy the car.
Yeah.
And unbelievable.
You gave it a test run.
What's that?
You gave it a test run.
Gave it a test run in like full autonomous mode. And it's like I think you like pull down on the gear change twice or something like that in quick succession, and it actually puts it into this autonomous mode. And it was just weird. Like you kind of got your hands hovering above the wheel, and it's going around corners, stopping at traffic lights, and you're just like, wow. I mean, you have to put in a destination into the GPS where you want to go,
Sure.
and it's just driving automatically. It was
And
it was crazy.
accurately. And how was it dealing with cars, other traffic and stuff like that?
Yeah, it freaked out a little bit. We were going around a corner, and there was a car parked on the side of the road, and there was a car coming the other way, and it kind of freaked out a bit, and like some alarms went off and stuff, but it kept driving. But what's weird is like if you're driving a vehicle, right, you make small, smooth adjustments, and it's obviously got all these cameras everywhere to detect whether it's in its lane and obstacles and stuff like that. And you can feel it sort of like it goes in a straight line, but quite often the road might not be running in the same direction. So like the wheel like jerks like that, like to make these small adjustments just to get it back on track. So it's odd, but I mean, look, great technology, and it's great to see it deployed in vehicles. Hopefully it makes them safer.
It's only early days too, right? So if you put your hands on the steering wheel when it's in auto mode, does it just automatically come out of it and you can just take it over? Or does it still go, sorry, mate, I'm in auto mode?
I can't quite remember whether or not I could actually, I'm pretty sure I could take control back from the car. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's really only the start of that sort of self-driving autonomous vehicle. We're only really at early days. I mean, 5 years, 10 years from now will be crazy to see.
Is that one of your predictions?
And my prediction is 10 years from now, it's going to be completely autonomous.
Yep.
And the biggest risk to traffic will be humans. 10 years from now, it's going to be completely autonomous.
Yep.
And the biggest risk to traffic will be humans. Like, I think they'll be so efficient. The biggest risk will be the one that doesn't trust the technology. That'll be me in 20 years going, I don't trust this technology. Sort of thing. And they'll be like, and I'll come into the traffic lights and overrun the light, and then this car will ram me or something like that. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Is that a fair Nostradamus tip or what?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that what we're seeing is like at CES last year, Hyundai and Uber had paired up, and they've got autonomous passenger drones. So, like, I mean, if they're producing something like that, like in the next 5 years, I mean, imagine how advanced the cars are going to be on the ground, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, who needs a car? Let's just go and be the Jetsons.
Absolutely. Why not?
Around everywhere. Drone around anywhere. Anyway, hey Pete.
Yes.
We probably should kick on. That is episode 1. Episode
2021.
Episode 1 for 2021 after our little hiatus. I think it's episode 20 that we've just rolled out today.
Okay.
Something like that. So
cool.
We might have some sponsors coming on board, Pete. That's pretty exciting.
That is very exciting.
Yeah. So that's we'll watch this space. Stay tuned. Stay tuned to something like. Anyway, it could be a fusion of things. Who knows? Hey, so what's the week ahead look like for you, mate?
The week ahead, well, it's actually a long weekend this weekend, right?
What's it over there?
President's Day or something, or I don't know.
Another day to have a holiday.
So I'm going to head down to Florida for a couple of days. Go to the beach and relax, get out of the cold, get out of the snow. But work-wise, we're finishing off a very exciting project. It's actually going to be the smartest workplace in New York. So we're very, very close to finishing that. So it's taking up a lot of our time. Yeah. So, and we've just picked up a couple of new projects and working with some very high-profile clients. So it's there's a lot going on. So yeah,
plenty happening, mate. Sounds like New York's really starting to kick off again.
It's starting to pick up. What about yourself? What have you got? What do you got in store?
Oh, look, I've got. I think I've got. We're coming to the end of week 2 or 3 of school. Anyone knows me. Knows I'm fairly heavily into education. It's normally the first 4 weeks of the first of year, first term. You are wasting your time trying to talk to any clients. They just do not want to see. They haven't got time. They've got, some teacher or student who's asking them how to turn their Wi-Fi on their laptop and things. They're just sort of small, but they're just flat out. So we're sort of coming to the end of that. And I've got I'm holding a webinar. I'm committed to holding a webinar every month for 2021. So I did one on digital signage.
I saw a couple of your videos recently. You did a barcode video and a ViewSonic one, was it?
Yeah, they're actually re-edits and stuff from last year. So yeah, just a bit of a branding change and just some short little outtakes or whatever. And
like it.
But yeah, just trying to do that. So flicking onto some of the webinars and really pushing forward to some of the products we're doing in the schools and seeing a lot of schools think differently. Interesting enough, just before we go, the numbers in schools, everyone was a little bit unsure, and a lot of schools are unsure what they're going to do last year. So the Christmas period, which is when they get their work done, wasn't potentially as big as it would be other Christmases. So, but I had a conversation with the school yesterday, and their enrollments have gone up by 150 students. So wow. They're going, we can't explain it, but that's really exciting. I think Southeast Queensland particularly is really trying to push through, and everyone wants to support local and also. So I think that's really cool. And and
I think also technology is typically the enabler of all this as well. Like, it's fostering, the current, like, it's actually allowing people to move forward.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and they've gone, okay, we can adopt technology.
Yeah.
We know how to adopt the technology fast. We know that the teachers can do it. They did it in a period of 4 weeks. One school come to us, had the conversation yesterday that it's got approved for a grant for 50 grand to do some hybrid sort of classrooms. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Some of these hybrid, so they can, there's 20 kids that can get to school and there's 5 kids in isolation. So how do we not, lose these kids in their academic studies? So I think we're going to see a lot more of that sort of technology getting rolled out in schools this year. So, but that's my not so Nostradamus tip. Camera evolution and all that sort of fun stuff. It's pretty obvious stuff. But Teams is a big one into education. So we'll see how that develops as well. Cool. But anyway, that was awesome. That's all that in 1 week.
Wow, jeez.
What am I going to do next week? Save the world. All right, let's wrap up. Pete, right. Been awesome to talk to you, and let's do this again next week, shall we?
Exactly. Great to catch up. Great to see your happy, smiley face.
Yeah. Took me 30 seconds. Took you 3 hours. Anyway, see you later, mate. Goodbye, everybody. Talk to you next week. Oh, don't forget to check us out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, LinkedIn for the Kiwis. Yep. Where else are we? We're in your face. Everywhere. Facebook. You can find Pete at Pete Tecman Coman. Facebook. I think you're just a Tecman, aren't you?
Yeah,
something
Pete
like that. Go looking hard enough. You find a good-looking bloke that stole the Tesla logo. It's good LinkedIn. To go. And I can be found at the Bearded Tech Oz. I think I am OZ. So, but just go with LinkedIn. That's where we hang out the most. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Talk to you soon, Pete.
All right, mate. Have a good one.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.